Hi everybody, good afternoon. It's kind of always nice to be the speaker after lunch because everybody's fresh like a daisy. But in any case, my name is Wan Ling. I'm actually with the Caregiver Group. And what we are online aggregator of caregivers. So on our website, we have freelance doctors, nurses, occupational therapists, health aides, and even counselors. And what happens is that we have an e-commerce portion to our business. So besides aggregating these freelancers, people can come on board and book freelancers for them to come to home for services. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. Besides Singapore, we're headquartered in Singapore, we also have offices in Malaysia, as well as Ohio, in the US.
Great, sounds nice. So next, I'd like to introduce Rohan, who's co-founder and CEO of Xiaopo. So Rohan, would you also care to share more about your company and the services the platform provides?
Cool. So this is my second company. The first company we started in Singapore was about 5 years back. This was a college counseling company where we helped students in Singapore with college applications to US and universities. We grew that and we sold that to a private equity firm not a long time back. And we launched our B2B SaaS platform, which is a full-fledged tech company now. So it's a huge change from being a services company to being a tech company. And what we do with Xiaopo now is we help education companies, particularly college counseling companies and high schools, to manage the students. So we help the companies to grow, increase student engagement, collaboration internally within the team, and we're also doing So this is what we do.
Nice. So both Caregiver and Xiaopo are Singapore-based companies that are success stories within their field. So first question to Rohan, within the realm of digital, what were the biggest pain points you felt trying to achieve a good alignment between sales and marketing?
So this is something that we faced in our previous company when we first started. We looked at marketing and sales as two different departments, and sales always has KPIs, and when you ask sales why perhaps not hit the KPIs, they say not enough number of leads, right? So we felt looking at them as two different departments was the challenge itself. The other issue that we had was information sharing. So we used different platforms earlier, and so sales could not see the lead generation that was happening, and the marketing could not see what the sales was doing with the leads that were generated. So those were the problems.
That's actually a great point. Being a marketer, we also face that challenge, because we actually hear from other organizations as well that sales and marketing teams are generally not aligned most of the time. So based on this achievement, how did you implement this in your company?
Yeah, so one of the first things we did was to remove the barriers of departments. So we sort of brought sales, marketing, customer success under one unit called the business unit. So now we just have two business units within the company, one is the product unit and the business unit. So everyone now within the sales, sales or marketing or customer success is on the one unit. We do daily scrums, so everyone knows what is happening with each other. And also we implemented HubSpot. And they did not pay me to say this, but with HubSpot, what happens is it's the CRM and the inbound marketing, is all within one platform. So with one lead, or with one student, or with one client, you can see whether they've opened up your marketing emails, have they how much are they interacting with your content marketing, and then the sales can customize messages accordingly. So so information was one thing that was lacking with one platform, CRM and marketing being within one environment helped us a lot. But also as a company culture, instead of looking at them as different departments, we just looked at them as different individuals and saw them as one department working towards one goal, which was more customers, happy customers.
Great, thanks for sharing your insights. So now,
Actually, Minnie, I would like to, in a way, add to what Rohan has shared. And actually, this came. I think, Rohan, there were two things that you said that resonated with me a lot. I think the first thing that you talked about, right, was all the different departments, and how they were separated. And the other one's actually the implementation of HubSpot. So essentially what happens was our company was established just about 2 years ago. We started our online services in 2015 in February. And honestly, at that time, right, it was kind of difficult, for us to, as a startup, to be able to have like enough marketing dollars and all that, right, in order to hit the market well. And also at the same time, right, we didn't have a lot of people in our team. And essentially, we had people who had different responsibilities, so of course we had our CTO, we had the CEO who was me, and then we had a marketing person and an ops person. And in the end, everybody didn't talk to each other. And one of the things that I realized was that a lot of things that we talked about, let's say in marketing, let's say you talk about leads generation, it's probably not exactly how the tech person would understand it to be. So it was actually rather like it's synchronicity in a way that we got to know about HubSpot and all that, and I can share with you the very interesting story later on, off stage. But essentially, what happens was that when we implemented HubSpot, we actually made everybody in the team, including myself, take on HubSpot certification. And we could have done this with many different platforms, but HubSpot was an opportune platform because they actually have the HubSpot Academy, and because of this, all of us, right, started talking on the same terminology, and even up to today, so we started off with just 4 people, and today we have over 30 users, Annabelle, is that correct? Yeah, on our HubSpot, and every single one of us, before you join Caregiver Asia, even as an intern, right, you have to take the HubSpot certification. And this is to ensure that all of us are on a common language. And I think, right, in terms of this, especially if you are a younger company, right, that's looking only at very limited resources, right, I think it's very important when you look at your marketing sales alignment that it is both a top-down as well as a bottom-up approach.
It's really great to see a company that has really fully implemented the entire version of HubSpot. So moving on to the next question, I'm sure as a CEO of your company, you had a lot of hurdles. So for example, how did you find that care seeker demand, and what channels were you utilizing in finding caregivers?
Okay, it's a kind of interesting question you're asking because it is essentially about creating a marketplace. I think it's easy to take over a marketplace, but it's difficult for you, right, to create a marketplace from scratch. And actually, just like Rohan, HubSpot didn't pay us for this endorsement, but because we benefited so much from it. Actually, it was one of the methodologies that we learned from HubSpot, which was a fundamental part of inbound, and that is looking at personas. So I guess if I look at all of you here, off the stage, and ask what do you think would be a typical type of care seeker? A care seeker would be somebody who would be booking the services from home. And you probably would think that the care seeker would be somebody probably like me. I wouldn't be booking for myself, but I'll be booking for the elderly in my home as well as for my kids and all that. And when we first began, on this whole entire inbound journey and all that, we created a persona, and her name was Elaine Tan, and she's exactly like me, a lady in her teenage years. Actually, I'm 41. So a lady in her 40s, with a lot of responsibilities, both at home as well as work, and wanting a quick way, to look for care, especially, right, unplanned care emergencies. And so we started marketing a lot to this persona called Elaine Tan. And it was later on, because we did take advice, that for personas, it has to be a living document. It grows together with your understanding of the industry as well as grow together with your company. And that was when we realized that there was something a little bit different. Elaine Tans were coming up, but there was also another persona that was coming up. And that persona, right, is actually a lady in her 50s. And she's actually booking, right, for her mom. And it was there, right, that we, as we went on the whole entire journey and all that, that we realized, right, that, look, HubSpot can teach us the fundamentals of inbound, but it's actually really up to us, right, to see how we can localize it to suit our needs as we understand the industry. And so that was when we realized that there was this new persona that came out, Nancy Neo, and we started, right, to do a lot of we started with developing insights on how to reach out to the Nancy-Neos. And we found out that actually vernacular languages work really well for her. So I would say, right, some of our best performing pieces right now are actually Chinese pieces. And the other thing too, right, is Nancy-Neo doesn't read. She actually watches videos. So what we did, right, was that we changed a lot of our content from blog pieces to videos. So I would say, it's a big thank you to, the inbound methodology that, ultimately in the end, it did help us look at a different type of market that we completely missed, and also at the same time, develop it right to a state where actually Nancy-Neo takes up maybe about a third of our business now. So this was a great insight.
Wow, that's really interesting stories about your different buyer personas, and that's what HubSpot's about as well.
Right.
So, Rohan, for you, because you're on the education side, how did you overcome that hurdle of getting students or tertiary educations to want your service?
Right. I think so the way we looked at it was where our industry was in the technology adoption lifecycle. And this is a great book that I would recommend anyone who's doing like SaaS companies. It's called Crossing the Chasm by George Moore, and it talks about you have to understand where the niche that you're trying to target, where it is in the technology lifecycle. It could be early adopters, early majority, or late majority, and your messaging and your positioning has to be according to that adoption lifecycle. So we realize the ones that we're targeting. So we're looking at counselor, SMEs, anywhere between 5 employees to 50 employees in their companies. So those are typically early majority, in their life cycle. So the way we do the messaging is they need to know about the product from somebody else, which is very different from a early adopter who would look at innovative technology and try to adopt that to remain one step ahead from the competition. But early majority wants to hear from other companies how good the platform is, so that it's less risky for them to adopt new technology. So our messaging is according to that. So for us, what we did was we got a lot of our customers to talk about us. We got wrote case studies about them. We got them to talk about us through their blogs. So we did a lot of blog sharing. That was one part. Second part, that early majority likes to see is how embedded you are in the ecosystem. So we understood, what is the ecosystem of these educators, and we started adding value in this ecosystem. So we sponsored a lot of these events. We host luncheons and drinks to get them together. Understand what are the challenges in their business. How can we add value as being part of the ecosystem to help the businesses grow. So I think those are the two things that we have concentrated on and going to continue concentrating on in different markets for them to build more trust on us.
That's great. So a few more final thoughts. Open question to both Wan-Ling and Rohan. So Wan-Ling, if you would like to go first, what are some trends or things that you foresee the company working on in the next couple of years?
All right. So obviously, because as I explained before, for us we work mainly with freelancers. So currently we have about 1,000 active freelancers here with us on our platform in Singapore, and but on a database, right, we actually have a lot more of that. And I think, right, it is a further extension of what the gig economy is. So previously a gig economy was all about acquiring people to be on the website and to perform services and all that as a freelancer. But I think, right, as an integral part of making sure that they are active, of making sure that they provide good standards of service, right, is actually the empowerment piece. So for us in particular, because some people have referred to us as the Uber category, but I kind of like to differ a little bit from that because we are in business care, healthcare, and it's pretty different from taking a ride because if you are providing care, you're inviting someone, a stranger, to your home and touching your loved ones in the most vulnerable of times and the most vulnerable of places. And so because of this, right, it is about creating, right, the type of ecosystem, the type of platform that I would say, right, is a trusted one, and if necessarily so, right, an accredited one. So one of the things that we have been doing, and we have introduced, is actually to see how we can offer services to help the caregivers optimize their trade. So one of the things that I realized was that a lot of caregivers are really excellent at giving caregiving, but might not be so good at marketing. So some of the things that we do right is that we actually help them spruce up their online profiles, by writing it in a way that is marketing friendly and searchable. And a picture totally launches a thousand shit. So make sure that everybody has a nice mugshot there. But beyond that too, we have also started to work with a lot of enablers, and this would include, for instance, certification as well as training organizations to help caregivers who have not achieved licensing and that right to get a certain level of basic training. And the other one too, right, which I think would benefit almost all industries in the gig economy, is actually about background checks. So we have partnered with one of the largest US-based background checks company to see how we can actually get the people on the website, whether or not it's caregivers, we've introduced this to caregivers, but future roles we're introducing this to the demand side, which are the CAFIDs, for background checks. So yeah, I think this will be a trend that we'll be concentrating on, which is about the empowerment and the employment optimization of the gig economy workers.
Great. That's amazing. To have a background check so that you know.
Yeah.
For example, I'm leaving my mom or someone
Exactly.
in someone's hands. I want to know that she's safe all the time.
Exactly.
So Rohan, what about your company?
So the question was the industry trends or?
Industry trends or things you're looking at for the next couple of years?
Yeah, so those who are in education would probably relate to this. So education is in a very unique space. The people who manage the education businesses, and these businesses are technically still untouched by software. So I'm not sure how many of you have heard of SharePoint. So SharePoint, people like I in my late 20s, I've never used SharePoint. And I'm surprised by the fact that so many companies still use SharePoint. And when there are a lot better technologies out there, Dropbox, Box, and or Google Drive, and so that is how the business owners within the education industry are. However, their clients, which are the students, they are the ones who are on Snapchat 5 times a day or TikTok or whatever. So their experience with software is very different from the experience of software with these business owners. Now when it comes to our technology, we are touching both sides of the table. We have these business owners who need to use our technology very simply, very easily. It needs to be extremely, and the switching technology is also a big deal for them. So we have to take into consideration all of those things. Whereas for the students, it has to be good user experience, it has to be colorful, and that is not a easy adoption life cycle that we have to go with our customers. And maintaining and managing and finding that balance for good user experience on our product is what we really strive towards. And this is just an overall thing. And when you go out to different countries or different cities within different countries, you'll understand there are even more nuances there. So the way India interacts with Indian business owners interact very different from Singapore, very different from China, very different from the US. So so that is our focus for the next 12 months, 12 to 18 months. How do we build a great user experience for different customers, and continue building good user experience, because this is an industry which is not used to using technology, and how do we get them to use good disruptive technology like ours? That's one part. Over the next 3 to 5 years, we see the adoption of technology becoming a lot simpler, a lot easier with education. But what happens with them? So we are already started creating learning curves of students within our platform. So now, for example, if you look at universities, still looks at different data points on how to admit students. Whether it is an American university, which looks at a lot more data points, or when you look at a Singapore university, it looks at mostly the academics. Let's look at different data points. How can we create a learning curve within our platform for the students to learn better, for the educators to teach better, and universities to be able to accept students in a more wholesome way, we'll have to explore that from. The data will be available soon. So that is what, that's where we're looking to go towards, the personalized learning curves on our platform for the next 3 to 5 years.
We really look forward to seeing more from Caregiver and Sialco. I'd like to thank everyone today here for joining our panel, Wan Ling and Rohan, for sharing your valuable insights.
Thank you, Minnie.
Thank you.
That helps me.